Welcome to another edition of Sibling Showdown, the best ball version, and of course, the live draft version. We are doing another live draft, as we promised, a weekly live draft every week on either Underdog, DraftKings, or Drafters. And today we're on Underdog. As you can see, they have three main tournaments up on Underdog right now. Of course, the flagship BBM4, the Dalmatian, which is $101 buy-in. I love it. And the Chihuahua is the tournament that we are going to do today. It's a $4 buy-in, very flat payouts, pretty decent advance rate. I believe, Steve, once you get to rounds 2 and 3, you just have to be 1 of 10. So that's nice. So really like it. You can max enter up to 25 entries. So I've been playing around with some different strategies. I like to use the lower buy-ins to play around with some different strategies and different concepts and that kind of thing. But let me bring in my sibling, my brother, Steve. Steve, how are you doing? And have you fired off some Chihuahuas?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I've definitely fired off a few. Just to reiterate what you were saying about this tournament, a very flat payout structure, still 25K at the top, which is a great return on investment for $4.
Yeah.
But even through the top 15 prizes is $1,250. So that's really nice. And seeing this kind of flat payout, I believe it's a 25 max entry.
Yep.
And just one thing, similar to a lot of the tournaments, it's 2 of 12 through the first round, and it's actually 2 of 10 through the second round.
Oh, it's 2 of 10 through the second
round. And then
round.
1 of 10 through the third round.
1 of 10. Okay, thank you.
It is
that's
even
awesome.
better than what you were saying.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And again, I like trying to get some exposure to these all different buy-ins, but these and of course it's nice when they do like more of the single entry 3 max, which of course the Dalmatian is a 3 max. Just because you can do different concepts for the size of the tournament. I like to play around with different strategies in the smaller field. I love being able to do that, and I'm excited that we get to do a live draft of a Chihuahua today. Of course, before we get started, follow at Steve Speak on Twitter, follow at Megs08DFS. It's a lot of best ball content all summer long. Please, of course, like this episode and subscribe to the FanSpeak Network. We really appreciate it because, again, we will have best ball live drafts every single week. We've had them every single week. We're going to have them every single week throughout the summer. And of course, we have a lot of best ball articles up on fanspeak.com each and every week. I just wrote an article about fading in best ball. Very interesting concept. But we're going to be talking about all sorts of different strategy concepts for best ball all summer long. So be sure to check out our content on fanspeak.com. And finally, if you're new to Underdog, use code FANSPEAK. If you are new, you use code FANSPEAK. You get a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. So that's nice. Deposit $100, get $100, $200 for drafts. However you want to break that up and use it, I highly recommend doing that. So, Steve, what do you say we get into a Chihuahua now and then talk about our strategy, obviously, based on the pick that we get?
Sounds good.
Okay. These are fast drafts only, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure that I wasn't accidentally signing up for a slow draft. Okay. So we are waiting for 10 people, but these load pretty quickly. Especially being the smaller or lower dollar buy-in. Yeah, it's flying through here. So once we see our pick number, then we can start, queuing up players and talking about our strategy, because you really have to see that pick number first. You and I were talking offline this morning about just different pick numbers that we don't like. And I got I think a couple of the 8th pick yesterday. I got 1 11th, like that 7 to 11. I don't maybe mind the 12 turn, but that's 7 to 11. I really just don't love. Okay, let's find out what we are at. We are at 11.
Yeah.
So we have a little time. So I'll finish my thought and then get your thoughts. 7 through 11 is not my favorite. Again, at the 12 turn and kind of 11 too, I guess you can kind of, queue up and kind of figure out what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I just like having that 1 through 5, especially. And then just each from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I just like those progressively less. I don't know, for whatever reason, 8, 9, I really hate. What picks do you hate the most and what picks do you love the most? I'm guessing obviously 1 through 4.
Yeah. So first, I will say I don't mind the 11, just because I do think one, there's a lot of really strong receivers at that back end, and maybe a
Yeah.
running back slips, and also you can kind of just control things. Like if
Yeah.
that 12 spot, like you're looking for a quarterback, and they already have like one or two, like maybe you can say I'm going to get it on the second of these picks type of
Right.
thing.
Right.
So I like that control, but yeah, for me, it's 1 through 6. I really like because
Hmm.
it's the top four receivers: Jefferson, Chase, Cup, Hill, adding in then Kelsey at tight end and McCaffrey at running back.
Yep.
These are the guys who can just absolutely dominate.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the order I would always take them, but I think there's a clear drop off after that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
7, 8,
It's like a tier.
9
Yeah.
are just not great. I
Because
think
you're
at least
constantly
with
feeling like you're getting sniped, right?
exactly. At least with 10 and 11, I feel like you have a lot more control on how your team ends up going. Like you can, you come up and you see like, there's 6 receivers that you like. You're like, hey, I'm getting 2 of these guys,
Yeah.
type of
Right.
thing. When we start getting in the later rounds and stuff like that. So I like that. Obviously, the best at 12, but 11 I'm okay with.
Okay. Yep, I'm in fully agreement. And it went kind of how we thought. Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey, Hill, Eckler did go number 5 above Cup. That doesn't always happen. Kelsey 7, Devontae 8. That he can go from a kind of wide range. So I was kind of hoping Devontae would still be there. Steph Diggs. I've had taken a lot of AJ Brown. If CD Lamb's there, I have not been getting CD Lamb. So it kind of, sometimes it's more of just like, who you kind of get more of. It's not like, of course, sometimes you're going to have leans in and Lamb just went. Okay.
Well, I think Brian Robinson's still there,
Bijan. Yeah.
or Bijan. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's one I don't have a lot of, Steve. So I
Yeah.
am going to take that because again, actually we'll talk about it after this next pick because it comes quick. So we could do a double hero and get one of these top running backs. I mean, that would be a little early for Chubb, but I'm very bullish on Chubb this season. Or we could see kind of whatever receivers are left to us, like if Wilson or Amon-Ra are still there. Kind of what are you leaning?
Yeah, I think if one of Brown, Wilson, or Monroe is there, then I would go that route. And obviously, one of them will be.
So AJ Brown went. So
Yeah,
we could do Wilson or Amon-Ra. I actually just wrote an article. Actually, I'm on Run Pure Sports. I do contract work for about playoff schedules, and God, do I love the Detroit Lions playoff schedule. And then we have Steve wrote a playoff schedule article about a month ago, which is good. And we're going to be doing more playoff schedule content because you shouldn't just look at week 17. You should look at the whole entire picture. And Garrett Wilson went. So do you want to go Amon-Ra or do you want to kind of go Nick Chubb early? I think those are the two options for me.
I like Amon-Ra here.
Yeah, that works for me. All right. So we got Amon-Ra. And whether we want to kind of like hammer that mid-range, you start thinking, I'll pull up the board while we're talking, whether you want to start thinking through like, okay, I could, wait on quarterback and kind of hammer that middle range of quarterbacks and have Goff be one of them, or get a quarterback early and have Goff be that second guy. I kind of think that lines up when you're getting his top receiver for sure. So to talk to my earlier point really quick, Steve, before then we talk about the board and then what we want to do moving forward at the next turn. In the first round, you're probably going to get exposure to a little bit of everybody, but you are going to have more because you lean heavier certain guys. But then just because of the pick numbers you get, you sometimes do get more of certain guys just because of the pick number you have, or get less of certain guys. Like for some reason, I cannot get much CD Lamb. Like if on the times like I have an early pick, he even goes early or I don't want to reach on those, or the times he goes, I have the 11, 12, he always goes before that. It's just one of those things where I'm just not getting a lot of CD Lamb. Bijan Robinson is another one I haven't got a lot of. So I do like diversifying my portfolio to try to get exposure to a lot of them. But yeah, I mean, in the first round, there is always going to be guys that you just lean more into. Obviously, again, I love those first 5 guys that you mentioned. But other than that, I really like Devontae and CD Lamb are probably my next 2 favorites in the first round. How about you?
Yeah, I'm definitely in that same camp because I feel like AJ Brown is being taken a little too early.
Yeah,
In
and I
fact,
have
a lot of
plenty
times you
of
see him.
them. Yeah.
A lot of times you see him above Diggs, which, I mean, Diggs has just absolutely dominated him, and the Bills are expected to throw a lot more than the Eagles. So, um, and I'm not worried about any of the disgruntled Diggs talk.
Right.
I mean, like where else is he going to go that it's a better situation?
Right. Right.
Chiefs.
So
There's literally one spot.
right. So okay, so you obviously like the top five guys. That's, obvious. You're obviously wanting to get as much exposure to Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey, Hill, Cup, Kelsey. After that, who are your favorite in the back half of the first round usually? Like, who do you want to get more of over?
Yeah, I mean, I do like if one of like Eckler, Bijan are there.
Hmm.
I really do like Lamb or Diggs at
Yeah.
receiver, and then I don't mind, Garrett Wilson, Amon Ra, like if I'm like that
If you're
11,
at the
12
12th
spot.
turn,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So we started Bijan Amonra. We're now coming up at picks 35 and 38. Let's see. So Josh Allen is still there as far as a hero quarterback. We've got like the Jacobs, Najee, Harris. Well, that's a little early there. Or let's see, what numbers did I say? 35 and 38. So there are a couple, running backs. Then the receiver range is already kind of drying up drying up. They're just these some of these receivers feel like a bit of a reach to me. For some reason, I love the third round running backs more than the third round receivers. I don't know about you. I mean, not that I don't love Samuel or Cooper. I just like the running backs a little bit more. So, what are you thinking? We'll have two picks at 35 and 38. Deebo Samuel did just go. Keenan Allen went real early. What are you thinking here? Do you like targeting almost like a delayed double hero running back and grabbing like a Jacobs, or
Yeah, I mean, I think Jacobs is a steal at
the only other option would be like doing like we could do like a Lamar Andrews, which I don't have much of, I will say. So last
yeah.
thought.
I mean, I do think Jacobs
I,
uh, makes
I
a lot of sense, but
I don't get this opportunity much. So I'm gonna see if I can pull this off. And someone
I think
already,
Andrews went. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's what happens sometimes on live
But
shows. You don't.
but
Oh,
I also
I
I
did what
also don't think
you go ahead.
you can easily get Bateman
No, yeah,
later.
you can backstack Lamar. What I was trying to do is I wasn't paying attention to board. That's shame on me. Sometimes in these live drafts, your brain's moving quickly. You're trying to talk through stuff, and that was a my fail. Um, I think when you are so close back to back, that's an opportunity to get Andrews Lamar when it can work out. And I don't really have a lot of that yet. So I was just looking to
Yeah.
diversify in that situation. But I messed up and Andrews was already taken. But yeah, you can still backstack Lamar, no big deal. But yeah, I think that's a scenario because if you have a big gap between them, most likely as Andrews goes, then Lamar will go soon after. So it's hard to get him unless it is like almost like a back-to-back situation, in my opinion. So at pick 38, we could still do the double hero running back and go Najee Harris, or we could get one of these, receivers of the, go ahead.
I'd go Najee,
That's
and
a
then
yeah,
yeah,
because he doesn't have the same, but yeah.
yeah,
So we kind of got like a hero quarterback, double hero running back, and now we can just hammer the hell out of you know, the receivers because
yeah,
now that we've done double hero running back, we can basically just really not worry about that for another 7-8 rounds or so. I am going to queue up just to keep an eye on it because I believe he goes in the 120s, almost 130s, and he has a different buy than Lamar, and it gives us the optionality if we want to just do two quarterbacks, we could. So I'm going to queue up Jared Goff, but that's obviously for much, much, much later. I think we should start queuing up receivers, and let me take a look at the board. Let's get back on track here after my faux pas. Okay, so we're in the fourth round is cooking. We took Lamar and Najee. So again, we have Bijan, Najee, Amon-Ra, and Lamar. We are looking at picks 59 and 62. This is the area where kind of a run on receivers, another kind of run of receivers goes. And I do usually like these receivers. but more like the back half of the draft, like what's going right now, like Kirk, Mike Williams, Terry McLaurin. I don't know if Drake London already went, that range is kind of like my sweet spot. So it's a little early there. Okay. So 59 and 62, let's just keep that range in mind, and let's start queuing up receivers. I don't love this range either, unfortunately. I was just listening to Underdog Network. Shout out to Josh Norris and Hayden Winks. They do great work, but they were just talking about it's hard to get behind, the Tampa passing game with Baker and just tying yourself to that. But, the receivers are talented for sure. And I didn't realize that they're already talking with Mike Evans about a potential contract extension.
Yeah.
Because I thought he could potentially be a trade target, and who knows, maybe then Chris Godwin, who just went, will be a trade target. So let's see here. I don't have much like JSN. I always lean Lockett. What are your thoughts on the whole JSN Lockett thing?
I mean, in this type of build, I would definitely go Lockett because you need more certainty. JSN is a huge wild card.
Yeah. And again, I just don't like targeting bag offenses. So I don't like targeting Ayuk's fine, but just like he's like, to me, the fourth on the totem pole to Kittle, Debo, and McCaffrey. And then Pittman and Marquise Brown are in bad offenses, in my opinion. So I just don't love that. So I would rather reach a little, quite honestly. And like, I'm queuing up Lockett, Deontay, Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
You tell me as I go down. Obviously, if you didn't get Deontay, you can do Pickens.
We should be able to get two of those three: Lockett, Deontay, Addison.
Yeah.
So
so we don't need because 59-62. We should definitely be able to get two of those guys. So while we have that queued up, who's your favorite two?
I would probably go Lockett, Deontay, but I really am bullish on Addison.
No, I hear that.
I think the one thing is both Lockett and Deontay have real chances of being the highest scoring wide receiver on the team.
Yep, got Lockett. And then really, then it's down to, do we want to go to Deontay or Addison? Again, I was just in the weeds on the playoff schedule, and Minnesota does have, I think 2 out of 3 dome games in the best ball playoffs. Pretty nice potential shootouts. Pittsburgh's just kind of average in that department as far as like, we don't know like what their pace is going to be or their shoot. But I have been bullish on the Pittsburgh offense, but their ADPs are also going up too. I do also have a lot of Deontay. So I wouldn't mind going Addison here, but if you really are bullish on Deontay, I'll do that.
No, I think Addison makes sense. We also already have Najee. So, it's not like we need to overstack Pittsburgh.
That's true. So I like Pittsburgh as a potential like undervalued stack, but again, a lot of their guys, are starting to go up. So
it's also, Vikings are almost assuredly going to throw a lot more than Pittsburgh. And,
No, I like that. Okay, so I'm going to grab Addison here, and these guys are going to be most certainly gone by our next pick. So I'm going to take a look at the board then. I will say at the turn, that is what's nice, because you can like plan 2 picks in a row, like you said, like you like plan it out, as opposed to getting sniped when you're in that 7, 6 to 10 range. But anyways, our next 2 picks are 83 and 86. Again, Goff's not going to like the 120s, 120, 130, that you have to consider that. So I still think I definitely want to have at least 1, if not 2 more receivers here, unless anything else really stands out to you. So, I think a lot of these guys are going to be potentially gone, but I queued up a couple I like. And then of course, Bateman, if we can get him at like the 86 spot, obviously that fits the stack. A lot of the Ravens are going right near each other. If you notice, Bateman, Flowers are back-to-back ADPs, and then just a little further down is Odell Beckham at 111. So obviously my preference is Bateman. I assume yours is too.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you see yourself like double tapping receiver? Do you like the idea of double tapping receiver here? Like we could do like a a Brandon Cooks, which if we get Goff really fits into that week 17, like Dallas's playoff schedule too, and Bateman, that would probably be like my preference.
Yeah. No, I think that would be
I
smart.
honestly, I think Dotson and Gabe Davis aren't going to be there. Number
Mhm.
one, number two, it just kind of fits with the correlation of this build. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really strong way to do it. And, suddenly, sure, we went early quarterback, 2 early running backs, but we would then have 5 starting receivers, including the
Yeah.
one that's correlated with our quarterback.
Yep.
Just a ton of upside in the group. Also, we've seen what Amon-Ra can do. Like I said, we've seen Lockett consistently outscore DK Metcalf, even though he's going, 3-4 rounds later.
Yep.
And even if Metcalf has the edge on him, I have little worry of Lockett in that offense. I believe Geno can have another big year. So, and then I love Addison. I think if we could get Cooks, that would be fantastic. Another high flying offense. And then of course Bateman, he just needs to stay healthy. When he's been on the field the last 2 years, he's made a lot of plays. So
I know a lot of people have made a big deal about him getting cortisone shot, but as I watch some good shows, again, Underdog Network, breaking down really analyzing the context of the news, it's really, I think, from what John Harbaugh said, the cortisone shot was really just to help the healing process. It's not like a risk of him, missing time or being delayed in his recovery. It's just to help the healing process. So, yeah, as predicted, Dotson went. So would you say because Brandon Cook's ADP is higher, take him or take the correlated piece first? Again, we're kind of.
I would still take Cooks first, just because we could, take the shot on Flowers. Sure, it's not as.
Yeah, I definitely do like Bateman best by a wide margin over the other Ravens receivers, but that doesn't. You do have other options.
Or like if you don't want to do that, there we could do a running back there, like a Montgomery or Connor, and then
get Beckham in the next.
Odell Beckham in the next group. So
yep, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so we're gonna grab Brandon Cooks. Got some nice week 17 correlation, and another team with a great playoff schedule, Dallas Cowboys. So love that as our fourth receiver, and then we will hopefully grab Rashad Bateman with at pick 86 here.
And this is the thing, we should, because this guy already has 4 receivers. Even if he took one here, and it looks like he's probably going Elijah Moore with Watson, would be my guess with the second pick.
Let's see if you're right.
I mean, you could stick with the board and go Gabe Davis. I wouldn't be surprised there, but it just
Gabe
seemed very likely that we could get Bateman to come back to us.
Yep.
Where if we had the 8th pick, it's a lot less likely.
Right. He's using all his time to figure it out. But he could be one of the. Oh, we went Waller. Okay. All right. Well, we were grabbing Bateman. It all worked out. And now that we have a break, we can take a look. And I am very happy where we're at with Lamar Jackson. I'm laughing because I really thought I was getting a Lamar Jackson Andrew stack. So I'm just laughing at myself. Lamar Jackson, 2 hero running backs, and Bijan Robinson, Najee Harris. And then we did exactly what you do. If you don't go running back in the first 3 rounds, you go get your receiver. Or if you don't go receiver in the first few rounds, you go pivot hard and get your receivers, and make sure you have 5 guys that you're really solid starting receivers that aren't flyers and that you're totally comfortable with to put up week in, week out scores. And we did with Amon-Ra with our first pick, Tyler Lockett, Jordan Addison, Brandon Cooks, Rashad Bateman. So like where we're at there, let's take a look at the board, and then we can kind of decide what we want to do. So this is tough. 107, 110, and then our next pick isn't all the way until 131. With Lamar being, I know he's supposed to, that's been a news story circulating is, they're supposed to be a little more pass heavy and up tempo and those things this season. But he still is a quarterback that I worry about, definitely potential injury risks. I'd be surprised if Goff was still there at 131. So with the way we're building it out, I'm happy kind of reaching for Goff at 110. I know that is like a chunk above his ADP, but it's obviously to build out a very correlated stack. So I don't know your thoughts there, or we could just pivot to, or no, Dak already went.
Yeah,
No,
Dak just went, unfortunately. But we could go Geno. Geno's week 5 bye.
Yeah, but to me, no, I understand that. I mean, just one for one, like I like Goff over Geno. So just because, and I guess this is just a point to make about ADP. Different people lean into different things more. I try to balance it all out between ADP value and correlation and, position allocation and all the things you need to think about when you are on the clock and making your picks. But the way I look at ADP, and I don't know if you agree with me, Steve, is, I'll put the board up while I'm talking this through and then we can decide what we want to do. But the way I think about ADP is if I am much higher on a guy than his ADP, that's okay. That's fine. I mean, no, I'm not going to reach like 30 spots or something like that. But if I'm much higher on him and think he's higher than the other guys above him, then I don't have a problem kind of going and getting my guy. What's your thoughts? Quickly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I do think it should be done. Sometimes like if it's positionally a need, then you really prioritize it and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I would take the running back first. I don't.
Yeah, I queued up Robinson, and I also love Damian Harris. Again, looking at playoff schedules, they just have they're in Buffalo twice. I don't know. I really love Damian. I don't know. I have a lot of Brian Robinson. What's your thought, though? Either one.
I would go Brian Robinson, but
can I just ask why?
I think Harris is fine, but he is definitely a much more situational guy. I mean, you Cook there, obviously, and I do think sure they say every year Josh Allen's going to run less.
That was my point. Go ahead, and then
they're still one of the highest passing teams inside the red zone, and that could actually increase this year when you add a little bit more in size and like a Dalton Kincaid versus what they've the last few years they've run out of the slot.
This is a wild. Go ahead. This is a wild idea. You could do, and again, I play with stuff. You could do a Damian Harris and just go 4 running backs if you wanted to. I'm just saying, if you wanted to, you could do that. Then I also don't mind getting a Goff here. Oh, Damian Harris just went. So, do you want to go ahead and get our stack?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have a problem reaching here because it accomplishes what I'm higher on Goff than most, and I have him right in that same range with Geno, Daniel Jones, and Cousins. So to kind of complete the correlation in the stack, and I love the Detroit playoff schedule, I have no problem going and getting it. So so we now have 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 5 receivers, 0 tight ends through obviously the 10 rounds. And with 8 to go, I'll pull up the board just to finish the Damian Harris conversation. I hear what you're saying, and I have a lot of Brian Robinson. I will say I am getting more interested in Damian Harris just because I personally think, especially on Underdog and touchdown hunting, probably not on the other best ball sites, but I think on Underdog specifically, I think they got like a Damian Harris to, maybe rush Josh Allen a little less around the goal line. And I just like him as a potential, goal line back. Again, playoff schedule. He has definitely a nice playoff schedule. So I personally am high on Damian Harris and want to get a good amount of exposure to him.
Yeah, I'm not against him. I just think Robinson just has a much higher upside, and Washington was just tremendously inefficient running the football in the red zone, in the goal line situations. I think they only had 9 rushing touchdowns, and quarterbacks accounted for 2 or 3 of those. I believe 3 of those.
Oh.
So it was real bad. And they were like 4th in rushing attempts, and quarterbacks did not have that many. This is not a Justin Fields situation. So, but we're now talking Eric Bieniemy. We're talking.
Right. I was going to say. So you're thinking that's going to change with Bieniemy.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're just looking at massive positive touchdown regression. Sure, he's sharing the overall role with Gibson, But in terms of touchdown hunting, I think it's going to be Brian Robinson's job.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like that a lot. And I do have a lot of Brian Robinson. Again, sometimes you want to diversify your portfolio and, get exposure to somebody else. And again, I have a lot of Brian Robinson. I love that pick in that range. I also do want to get some Damian Harris there. So that's just something I do want to consider just moving forward. We've still got a long way to go to scoop up some shares. Do you see yourself scooping up some shares of Damian Harris in the underdog format?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them just specifically on this format. Go ahead.
My other thing is, unless we see like a James Cook injury, I don't think Damian Harris's ADP is going to change that much. Where Brian Robinson could, if he comes out in preseason and really shows like he's a feature back, then that could change.
Okay, let's queue up. We got 9 picks away. I mean, I queued up another Dallas player because I know you and I both, excuse me, really like Gallup. Let me know what you want to queue up. Sorry, of course, I'm going into a coughing spell. Excuse me. Let me know what you.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to look at some things here. I mean, I think Gallup is definitely a tier break. Is tight end? Is Dalton Kincaid still there?
No, he just went.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Excuse me. This is the board of who just went. Sorry for the coughing spell. Another fun thing when you're drafting live. Yeah, Dalton Kincaid went at the end of last round, then came around and went Rodgers, Chain, Sky Moore, Zay Jones, McKinnon, and we're up at 131 and 134. Okay. So, yeah, if Gallup's still there, I definitely want to take him because he's a tier break for me, as you mentioned. Nico Collins is another one that I'm comfortable with as, I guess he would be our 6th receiver, but we should start looking at tight end. Any thoughts on tight ends? Again, Dalton Kincaid is definitely worth it there. I'm fine waiting on tight end too. Gallup is there. Do you want me to go ahead and grab him?
Yeah.
I like having 2 Dallas receivers, quite honestly. Okay, we could go back to back with Nico Collins, but I also like some flyer receivers like a Jaden Reed. Tyquan Thornton, Rashid Shaheed, some guys later that some may have correlations, some might not. We could, I think all options are open. We could go for a 4th running back, a 7th receiver, or we could start hitting the tight end position here with pick 1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with Schultz or Higbee. I prefer Higbee, but I think either are a fine pickup.
Okay. I'm going to just queue up my favorite tight end for next round, which is I have an obscene amount of Sam LaPorta. And 9, he does not contradict buys with either of those guys. So that's good. So I'll let you pick Schultz or Higbee. I don't mind reaching a little for Higbee. Again, when your ADP is higher, go get your guy. So what do you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd go Higbee. I just think, yes, it's Stafford's health we need to worry about, but
it's a better offense if he's healthy.
Yeah, it's a better offense. I mean, rookie quarterbacks are rookie quarterbacks. I overall I like Stroud. I think he could have a bright future in this league, but he could have a really, really bad first year, as we've seen with a lot of guys.
Of course, yeah. All right, so we'll come back up at pick 155 and 158. I think Schultz will obviously be gone, so I would like to target LaPorta there as our second tight end. Again, I have an obscene amount of him, but I don't care. Love him. Who's his competition? Brock Wright, and I forget the guy's name.
James Mitchell.
Thank you, James Mitchell. So yeah, I just really like him in honestly in Detroit or Dallas stacks or without. I just love targeting him, and it kind of fits around his ADP if he is still there. So I have him queued up. Let's look at kind of the running backs in this range. It would be around 155, 158. You've got like the Jerome Ford, kind of Mostert area. Nothing.
The latest rumors have Dalvin Cook starting to negotiate a contract with Miami. So,
oh, really? Okay.
If it happens, we'll see. But
yeah. No, I mean, that was kind of always where the smoke was, so I'm not totally surprised. I honestly don't have a problem doing like with the three guys that we got, doing like two like later guys like a Gainwell and Gus Edwards either, to be quite honest.
Not only that, I think there are a lot of like solid, late contingent running backs to take shots on. I mean, guys like Pierre Strong, they just cut James Robinson,
And
the
Ty
Ty Chandler
Chandler.
situation.
I heard some good things about Chase Brown in camp, but I need to be careful about that because I would overreact to camp reports sometimes last year, and it did not necessarily pan out for me. So, and I just want to peek at receiver here too, in the 150 range. That Jaden Reed, that's right in that range, and Tyquan Thornton. So just have that queued up too. Who would be your I queued up just a lot of running backs I like just because I like to do that. But who would be in that range? We're looking at like Laporta, Jaden Reed, Tyquan Thornton, Jerome Ford are really the ones in that range.
So, the Thornton thing I think is tough because if Hopkins goes there, that would be a massive hit on him.
Yeah.
I know the whole like Juju's still not practicing yet, but they knew this injury that he was recovering from when they signed him, and he's a slot guy. Like Hopkins is not going to impact him near as much. So it's like Thornton would be the one that would.
Yeah. Really speaking of Dalvin rumors to the Dolphins, it feels like at least Patriots are the leader in the clubhouse. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it just feels like they might be the leader in the clubhouse.
So
go ahead.
What I was going to question is, are you thinking 3 quarterbacks here?
That's what we need to decide. Because I guess I definitely am doing starting late at tight end, 3 tight ends for sure. So yeah, it would either be a 3-5-7-3, which is usually my most common build, quite honestly, or a 2-5-8-3. So I could go either way with it. I'm very happy with Lamar and Goff, and Lamar specifically does usually make me nervous. The running quarterbacks do usually make me nervous but I will say both have really nice playoff schedules. It's not like a situation like Justin Fields, who has injury risk and also, oh, by the way, has all 3 of his playoff games in either Cleveland or Chicago. Yikes.
Well, okay. I'm going to go you could take Stafford with the pick on the back end as a third quarterback, since we got Higbee. Obviously you could wait later, but I do.
I mean, do you think that's too much allocation to the? I mean, I'm happy with. I feel like our core is solid.
We can just pick up one receiver late. There's so many guys in the 17th, 18th round that.
I mean, I feel like even though we drafted Amon-Ra first and then second, right? Second, and then didn't hit the receiver position until pick 59. We hammered the receiver position, and I feel really strong with the 6 guys that we have. So I'm fine kind of just taking one flyer if you want to go Stafford.
I think that gives you just another upside of another guy you can get 25, 30 points in those playoff weeks. And sure, he has some injury issues. So does Lamar. But, now we're just kind of
now we have 3 correlated quarterbacks and 3 quarterback stacks. And just to your point, like one thing that I'm trying to do is kind of look for edges and that maybe kind of zigging with or zag a little bit. And a lot of people are kind of hammering the 2 quarterback thing. And it had a slightly advanced rate, but we're talking micro edges of advanced rate. And, obviously we know I drink every time I talk about my BBM3 finals lineup, but my BBM3 finals lineup last year, as you know, because you were helping me root it on, would not have even made the playoffs, let alone the finals without 3 quarterbacks. So I'm, kind of a big believer. And then you just see how things play out in the playoffs. And it's like, my God, if you would have told me the highest scoring quarterbacks week 17 were Daniel Jones and Tom Brady, of all the quarterbacks, I would have laughed, you know what I mean? But like, that's what reality was, and so you just never know to sort of have 3 quarterback stacks to get you through, potential health concerns during the season to get you to playoffs, because you have to be, the top 2 in the pod. And then to just advance through playoffs, which is so difficult once you get, no matter what tournament you're in, is so difficult to advance through playoffs. That's one edge that I'm going to be overweight on. Am I doing it every single time, especially when I get a hero quarterback? No. But am I doing it more often than the field's doing it? Yes. And we'll ultimately see if that's the right call or not. But to me, I would rather a third stack, especially when it's correlated, than like a dusty 8th or 9th receiver especially if
Yeah.
I address the receiver appropriately. And I think we did. Again, if we didn't address the receiver appropriately, then I'd say, okay, we need another flyer here, Steve.
Well, not only that, but we also address the running back appropriately. We have 3
Correct.
starting running backs. So it's like
Right.
sometimes, if it's a, week 13
All
when
with different buys. Yep.
and we have a couple of receivers out, maybe Brian Robinson's our flex. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of thing that I think we're strong enough in those positions that we don't need to get the 6th running back. We don't need the 8th receiver.
Yeah. And we were really careful with our buys and stuff too, which I really, really like. Ooh, one guy I want to queue up for late and he correlates with just a Jordan Addison skinny stack, but it's just a tight end that I want to grab a lot of shares now because I think once preseason starts, people are going to realize that Luke Musgrave is tight end 1 for Green Bay. So I think he could be like a 17th round pick that we could target. So just wanted to cue that up. Unless there's another tight end that you're like thinking of, because he doesn't conflict with either Laporte or Higbee. Thoughts on that? Or do you want to type in?
I like Musgrave. That's the thing. Like,
there's a lot of late round tight ends I like.
These tight ends that are coming up are the ones that I don't like. The tight ends I like the most right now, like super late, are the guys going like 17th, 18th round.
Like Musgrave, Mayer.
Jake Ferguson, though I do think he does have competition, though, obviously.
I know I was taking some Schoonmaker. Yeah. So I need to take some Ferguson too to kind of.
And then Hunter Henry. I mean, people were taking Gesicki over him, and it's like Hunter Henry 2 years ago had like one of the best touchdown rates. So yeah, I mean, they're back to having a real offense. So I like Henry.
At pick 179, I really want to grab Gainville. Well, if he's still here, I have. Speaking of obscene amounts, I have shit. He just
wow. That was that guy's 7th running back. So that's shocking.
Oh wow. I want to look at his team later, but okay. Well, what do we do now? Because these guys are all a lot later. But
I mean, I still think there's nothing wrong with taking your guy. I mean, I think
we've been talking about the whole time. I mean, who do you like the best? Gus Edwards correlates. We could take a flyer and Chase Brown. 8 seconds.
I would do Brown. I'd do Brown.
You like Brown?
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely good camp reports that he could kind of play that P. Ryan role, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, he has to beat out Trayvon Williams and what's his name?
Not a real gauntlet to beat out. Yeah. So I'm thinking we take another running back here at 182, and then we take if Luke Musgrave or one of those tight ends, and then just a flyer receiver. What do you think? Because running back gets real thin, and so I'd rather take. We're down to 1 pick, so one of Edwards or Chandler will be there, no matter what this guy does. Yeah. So I'd like to. Okay, both are there. So Edwards obviously correlates. I'm leaning that, and I love Gus Edwards. So
that makes sense.
So and I've talked about this on shows before, not to beat a dead horse, but again, the 3 biggest strategies. Now that we have a little break, and we'll queue up, guys. The 3 biggest strategies that are kind of may not be what everybody else is doing. That I'm going to do a little more. Again, not every single time. Let me be clear on that. But a little more than maybe the field is going to do is number 1, the 3 quarterback thing, even with some hero quarterbacks. Again, not every time, but definitely overweight on the 3 quarterback builds. 3-5-7-3 is my ultimate favorite, and that's ultimately what we're going to end up with here. Number 2, when I can correlate a running back with my quarterback, I like it. I think they can really ping pong through, especially if the ADP of the running back is later. I think that makes a ton of sense. And number 3, look at the playoff schedules. I, again, have mentioned it multiple times today that I just did some content on the playoff schedules. Steve has already done content on the best ball playoff schedules. We are going to do more content on the best ball playoff schedules. You got to get to playoffs first, but then you can't just look at just week 17. Look at the whole picture for kind of the teams you're building out and the stacks that you're building out for the playoff schedules. And those 3 things I think are going to be, I don't know, just strategies that I just want to spend a little more emphasis on. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, getting team stacks is great, especially when we're talking starters. I mean, guys like Gus Edwards, it's very contingent, but he's a good solid backup. And
I heard something the other day, like that his like yards per carry was like one of the highest, with a minimum amount of carries, like
Yeah.
right up behind Nick Chubb, something like
Yeah.
something wild like that. So go ahead. So basically, you're
Yeah.
fine. You don't mind, especially later getting a running back correlated with your quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, I think the value is going to mainly pay off when you're getting the starters, but
Yeah. Yes.
if Edwards needs to play a couple games, yeah, we've seen it before when he fills in.
Right.
He can produce like a starter. So again,
Right.
like whether it's in the playoffs or whether it's just to help get us to the playoffs a couple,
Mm-hmm.
weeks during the season, if that happens, I love J.K. Dobbins, but we know that he's had some injury issues, and
Yeah.
um,
And
I
Baltimore still mixes in. It's not like they're like, like a Derrick Henry where it's like he's going to get most everything. I feel like they still mix in their running backs pretty well. But I see what you're saying too about like, especially when it's with like the starting running back for sure.
yeah.
No, I like that. But yeah, those are the three strategies that I kind of want to spend some more emphasis on. I guess we should start queuing up. We have 2 picks left, and they will be back to back at 203 and 206. I have Luke. We have our 5. So we have a 3-5-6-2, and we're going for a 3-5-7-3 build. So I have Luke Musgrave. Let's cue a couple other tight ends in case he goes, Steve. I know we both like Mayer.
Mm-hmm.
Likely correlates, but I could see him actually getting some more work this year. But we already have 3 Ravens. I don't think we need to push it there. Who are other tight ends you like?
I like Hunter Henry, as I mentioned
Okay.
before.
I think one of those guys is hopefully going to be there. We're 3 picks away. And then let's start I know you like Slayton, as do I. Think he's like the Giants guy that has one of the bigger salaries at playing the outside. I think they're going to rotate, the show I mentioned. Okay. So they were smart and they took Luke Musgrave. I'm bummed about that because I love it. Do you want to go with the other rookie? Is there any, we would be 10 and 9. So Michael Mayer or Hunter Henry?
Yeah, go with Mayer.
I like it.
The only issue with Slayton is it would be our third, I believe, week 13 receiver.
Oh, thank you.
Only running 7 is a little thin.
Yeah, I agree with that. Good call. Way to look out for that.
So
Who are other late round flyers that you like? I mean, I like Allen Robinson. Actually, the more he's going to be working in the slot, but I mean that's not as attractive, of course, on Underdog. I know you like Corey Davis.
Yeah, he'd be our third week 7 receiver, so that's the downside there. Go down.
We're up in 1 just to let you know.
We could just take a kind of a safety in like a Marvin Jones or Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, which is obviously correlated. I don't mind stacking that further. So I love both either. Would you prefer Marvin Jones or Josh Reynolds?
Honestly,
I've been taking both.
Yeah,
I've taken both.
You skip past Reynolds if that's what you're going with.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. Okay, there it is. Which one do you prefer?
I mean, I prefer Reynolds, but I think Jones is a savvy veteran, so.
You know what? I've been taking more rounds. I'm going to take Jones just to have like kind of a good floor play,
Mm-hmm.
But I have been taking a lot of Reynolds, especially in Lions or Cowboys stacks. So anyways, that's our team, and I am very happy with it. We have the 3-5-7-3 build. Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, no bye issues. 5 running backs, Bijan Robinson, Najee Harris, kind of a double hero build in the first 3 rounds. Brian Robinson, Chase Brown, Gus Edwards. So no bye week issues there, like that. And then 7 receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyler Lockett, Jordan Addison, Brandon Cooks, Rashad Bateman, Michael Gallup, and Marvin Jones. A ton of week 17 correlation with Dallas and Detroit. But honestly, I know you and I both feel this way. We both just like Dallas and Detroit's playoff schedules. Schedules and playoff schedules. We would like the stacking up their offenses in general, and we like their playoff schedules. So, and then Tyler Higbee, Sam Laporta, and Michael Mayer. It's one of my favorite types of builds. I'm really happy with kind of the positional allocation, and it's very, very well correlated in my mind as well. Especially obviously the Detroit, Dallas the most, but 3 nice quarterback stacks. So I'm very happy with it. What are your final thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I think this is a way to definitely approach builds. You know, we
Especially
took the,
builds where you do take, two running backs fairly early. Yeah. I took a
yeah,
two
and
in the
that's the
first.
thing is we took where the value was. Obviously,
Mhm.
Bijan, kind of sliding there, but
Yeah.
Bijan and Amon-Ra, I mean, those could be absolute studs. And then Lamar, same thing. I mean, this is a guy who last 2 years got injured. If not, he would have been in the mix as QB1 or QB2. So, um, we really have a lot of upside with those first three guys. But despite that, I still think the receivers are very strong. Getting, the second Detroit player is minor, but the two Dallas players, I mean, those are two guys. Sure, we didn't get CD, but we've seen this offense, um, you know, facilitate three receivers in the past, and that's when they had better tight ends when Dalton
Hmm.
Schultz. So they very well could all three have 1,000-yard years. I mean,
Yep.
we saw that a couple of years ago. So yeah, I really like that. I like Bajan. I know a lot of people are against Najee, but you just look at his usage and particularly last year, the second half of the year, once Kenny Pickett started getting his feet wet,
Hmm.
and the offense was just a bit more functional and still a long way from good, and he was starting to get similar usage as what he was seeing his rookie year, and that kind of usage to get where we got him, I think is a steal.
Hmm.
Particularly if the offense with all the offensive line improvements, all the young guys just getting a little bit better. Look, they had to settle for so many field goals last year. If they
Yep.
start punching in some touchdowns,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
Najee had
gonna be
one of the
Najee,
best.
the one benefiting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's had one of the best red zone usage these first 2 years. Now, if they're actually converting, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah. No, I really like our team. I think it is strong. And I think we talked through, a couple good strategies and concepts that you and I both really like. And I think that's important to talk through as we do these live drafts too. My only faux pas was the thinking that Mark Andrews was still on the board. And it's just, again, because I knew we had that like kind of back-to-back scenario. And I don't have much of, I may have one of like
Yeah.
50 drafts or something like that, or if that. And I can't actually, it might be, I have a few Lamar, and I can't even remember if I have Mark Andrews with him yet. I need to look at, like, I have a whole analysis thing, but yeah, I want to get some, exposure to Mark Andrews, Lamar stacks. And I was like, oh, here's my chance. And I whiffed there, but that's okay. Other than that, we quickly made up for it and got Najee in that range. And I love our team. So I'm very, very happy with it. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, and I do like these kind of tournaments also because the fact that these ADP values are gonna, they're all set. Everyone's drafting
Yep.
at the same ADP values.
Yep.
We
Great
talked
point.
about in the show like Brian Robinson. His value could totally change depending on how preseason looks with between him and Gibson. So it's good to know that we got him in this range
Mm-hmm.
now, where even if Gibson has the larger role, he's still going to be fine. And I think fine at the range we got him. Where if this was the BBM and we got him there, and
Mm-hmm.
Gibson suddenly is the lead back, then boy, it looks like we paid too much. So
Right.
I just wanted to point that out that these
That's a
types of
great point.
tournaments, are nice in that regard. That it's going to fill in the next couple of days, and yeah, I really hope Underdog keeps putting out these types of
Oh
tournaments.
yeah, they do a good job of putting out different price points and tournaments weekly, and hopefully they continue to do so. And that was an excellent point. Grab the guys that have seen massive ADP shifts in these type of tournaments. And Madison or Dalvin Cook. Things are going to constantly be moving, but these like small open window tournaments are
Yeah.
very unique for that, and that's a really, really good point. Okay, well, again, follow Steve at Steve Speak. Follow me at Megs08DFS. Of course, subscribe to the Fanspeak Network and like this episode before you get out of here, and check out all our work over at fanspeak.com. We would really appreciate it. And of course, if you're new to Underdog, please, as you can see on the screen, use code Fanspeak, get that 100% deposit bonus. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.